This video will guide you through the 6-mark questions on the new specification. You'll be given an insight into the specific demands of this style of analyze question, help in finding the start and end points of a question, how to find relevant support, and what exactly appropriate context is, an overview of what to include in your answer, some examples of how to build this sort of response. So, what are the specific demands of a 6-mark question? The command word analyze is telling you that we need a link to be made between two things, a start and an endpoint, you could say. We are really looking to link a cause with an effect. For example, when asked to analyze how one entrepreneurial characteristic has contributed to the success of Gymshark, the start point is the cause or the specific entrepreneurial characteristic. The end point or effect will be the business success. Another example is when analyzing how having a strong brand could affect price elasticity for Gymshark's products. There is another clear start or cause, strong branding, and the analysis of the question needs to make clear. This cause leads to the endpoint or effect, inelastic PED. That's basically it. We've taken the approach of simplifying the range of questions. So A-level papers now have just 3 different styles of question to master. And for the 6-mark analyze questions, your students will simply be expected to develop that link between 2 aspects of the spec. What's more, the questions are going to focus on just one link, which should make it easy to showcase students' understanding and ability to apply business concepts without having to worry too much about complicated structures. The final demand to be aware of for the 6-mark question related to the assessment objectives. And again, it's nice and simple. There is just an equal split between the first 3 AOs, AO1 knowledge and understanding, AO2 application, and AO3 analysis. You might notice that it will be the AO3 analysis that will be needed to lift students' responses into level 2 to score top-level marks, but the clear question structure should help activate those analytical chains. And there's no need for any sort of conclusion or judgment to be made, finding the start and end points of a question. It sounds easy, doesn't it? And this process of finding the start point and working out where the analysis needs to take the answer should be simple. Take this example from paper 2 of the SAMs. There is a relatively clear route map for your students, and they can use it to describe the journey from start to finish. Hopefully it's easy to see that greater diversity is the start point, and that an effective answer will clearly link diversity to an endpoint of product quality. We don't need any counter-arguments or conclusions, just good quality analysis of one link that is well-grounded in the context of Netflix. Occasionally, the question might not set out a definitive start point. If that happens, then the end will be clearly identified. Here, the end result clearly needs to be Netflix being more innovative than its competitors. There is some scope given to students to decide on actions that would support innovation. So how do students find a start point? Thinking about innovation should prompt students to try and recall some of the ways of developing innovation they learned. Even if there is a question without an explicit start point, subject knowledge can provide the springboard needed to work out the start point that will guide the route their answer needs to take. The same will be true on the occasion where the start point is given, but the end isn't. As you can see, we're given the start point of keeping the business small, and it's clear that we need an advantage. That will be our end point. Now for more on how to develop that route map from start to end. Finding relevant support, and what exactly is appropriate context anyway? Having identified the route an answer needs to take, it's vital to use the case study to justify why the chosen route is best for the particular company. This is the AO2 application skill at work. Application can come from the information that is provided about the company. Your students will never be expected to have any pre-existing knowledge of a specific industry or company, but any additional, relevant awareness of that industry that they do have can be used, if appropriate. For example, with the question about Netflix continuing to be more innovative than competitors, students might be thinking about some of the ways listed on the spec, such as research and development, talent acquisition and retention, or cross-functional groups that form possible start points for their answer. If they then read through the case study, They might specifically seek out factors that support those possible ways of generating innovation. In this case, much of the largest paragraph of the text is devoted to people-based aspects of Netflix operations, picking out a relevant aspect such as, the company expects employees to be high performers, or Netflix's leaders highlight the importance of collaboration and creativity, could form a useful link between the talent acquisition and retention way of generating innovation and maintaining competitive advantage. A significant part of the response can then focus on the process of explaining how high performers might generate unique creative ideas that differentiate and afford opportunities for innovation, because this is the AO3 skill to demonstrate in this question. However, by placing this analysis firmly in the context of Netflix's own HR strategy and process, students are also satisfying the AO2 requirement. Remember, application is not about quoting long passages of text, but about using the context in an appropriate fashion to support the answer. Students could also use the information about Netflix producing its own content to link talent acquisition of creative people to the need for writers to produce original dramas. Another option is to use their understanding of technology, combined with the statement about tech influencing all of Netflix operations, to link talent management to retaining talented technical staff. This will ensure the response has enough context to meet the descriptor for a level 2 response. What should be included in an answer? A 6-mark response can be simply constructed as it just needs to link the cause with the effect. So identifying the start point is often a good idea. Some students will want to do this with a definition so they can show knowledge, AO1. However, there are other ways in which this AO1 skill will be assessed, and it can be implicit. For example, by showing the understanding that talent acquisition and retention is one way of generating innovation, a student has illustrated knowledge as well as understanding of how that knowledge is relevant to the question. So definitions are not the only way of demonstrating this skill. 6-mark responses should have a simple structure. The nature of these questions also suggests this. The questions only require one pathway from start to end point to be discussed. Make sure your students are not tempted to offer multiple routes, as they won't be fully addressing the question. Sticking to one factor will also encourage deeper analysis and keep the focus on how cause leads to effect, provided that there is a clear logic in the method suggested and that the chosen route is relevant to both the context of the business and the start and end points of the question. An answer does not need multiple paragraphs. We know there is only limited writing time available. Students can achieve full marks in just 6 minutes of writing time. Therefore, a well-structured paragraph that encompasses the following will meet the needs of this question style: knowledge and understanding of the factors. AO1. Understanding of talent acquisition/retention as a way of being innovative. AO1. Implicit knowledge that innovation involves being able to produce program content that rivals can't match. Effective application of that knowledge to context. AO2. Picking up the reference to script writing in Appendix A and linking to needing the best writers. AO2. Identifying writers would be empowered and given freedom to decide what to do. Accurate and relevant chain of reasoning, linking cause and effect. AO3, which would aid in retention of those key workers whose creative output can develop new formats for shows. AO3, which is at the heart of being innovative because it is Netflix original content that marks it out as being ahead of its competitors. This type of chain of reasoning will form the basis of the arguments that are used in 9 and 15-mark questions too. So check out the videos on answering those types of questions.